Good evening, everyone. This is the last session, so let's hope to end it with a bang. So we have two distinguished industry colleagues. We hope that they will disagree with each other, and we'll have an electric session. I'll start with Mr. Vidya Kumar Jaipuria. Sir, you have talked about your ambitions of turning Delhi into a global aviation hub. So, would you like to take us through uh, how do you plan to do that in terms of scale, in terms of traffic, and do we even have what it takes to be a global hub?
Okay. So first of all, yes, we have what it takes to become a global hub because we have passengers. And we have been feeding these passengers to nearby hubs. So this is the time when possibly you need to recapture the passengers which you have lost to the other hubs. The reason
Okay.
why we lost it to the other hubs is because we didn't have a strong airlines with ambitions for long haul. Because when I'm talking about hubs, there can be long haul hubs, there
Right.
can be short haul hubs. So Delhi, primarily we are talking about connecting to Europe, North America, Australia. So that kind of hub that we want to create. And we
Right.
never had the equipment with the airlines to actually cater to those markets.
Okay.
So the biggest opportunity that Delhi or any Indian airport has is the number of Indian passengers going abroad. Because if I just give you some basic data, Indians going to North America, there are only 11% to 12% of the people who go by direct flight. So the
Okay.
88% of Indians, they connect through either Middle East or Southeast or Europe when they are going to go to the North America.
So that business is going there.
So that business is going there. That business is being taken by the airlines which are not India-based airlines. So that is something which is a huge business opportunity for Air India, Indigos of the world,
Right.
which they should ideally reclaim.
Okay. And connected to that, so I'll ask Kapil Kaul, do you agree with this vision?
Well, good evening, everyone. If you look at compared to Delhi Delhi compared to Dubai, in terms of geographic location, Delhi is better suited.
Right.
The second big advantage for Delhi is that it has a tremendous homegrown market.
Ah.
It's not looking for a market from 100 countries concentrating in one hub and moving them,
Right.
which Emirates or Dubai has done exceedingly well.
Right.
It's a global case study. So we have a great location. We have a market which, honestly speaking, will grow for decades.
Right.
What, as Mr. Jaipuria said, that we had a problem that we never had a home-based carrier. Air India under government ownership couldn't
Right.
take off in spite of the fleet. Jet promised a lot, but because of financial situation,
Yeah.
in spite of a great airline, great product, couldn't really do it forward. Now we have a unique opportunity of location advantage, airport having the capacity.
Right.
I think they could go from current at about 50, 60 million more. And the third is that between Air India and Indigo, I think we could be looking at approximately 150 more planes, wide bodies, added over the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything is there. Now what is required, which is very important, that who is going to be responsible for this hub development? It cannot be just Delhi. Delhi will do everything possible.
Right.
But how do you ease it easier for them to make it into a hub? Number one, I think when they build an infrastructure which is required to generate a world-class transfer capability, you'll have to look at revenue share, whether that revenue share that they pay, is it worthwhile at the end, or does it make economic sense?
Right.
I'm sure Mr. Jaipuria would talk about it later. So who's going to be, if the government of India says hub is a national interest, then I think you should look at saying that what are the benefits we could give it to Delhi Airport. Because giving a benefit to Delhi Airport is giving benefit to Delhi economy as well as the whole country.
Right.
Second, more important, which is the dial issue, is to say that, listen, I have 60 million more capacity. How am I going to make sure that I keep it more for long and ultra long haul? Because domestic is swinging so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have to be judicious in that 60 million and say, I want to do more long haul, I want to do more ultra long haul. Between Indigo and Air India, we'll make two distinct kind of hubs,
Right.
which will be complementary to each other. But I may not just overwhelm myself with domestic too much and less of international. And third, which is more to do with the federal government here, Delhi government, how do we make it accessible, particularly to passengers, to access the airport, access infrastructure? How do we think about 130 million peak airport?
Right.
What kind of an access infrastructure we need? Because I think that choke is going to be at some point of time being very
Do
challenging.
you mean connectivity or do you
Connectivity, access infrastructure,
Okay.
which is my assessment issue. So basically, DIAL will do its job.
Right.
They will be judicious in terms of ensuring that if I long and ultra long is going to be my bread and butter going forward, they will keep more for that. Be judicious in terms of domestic.
Right.
Government is to say if I have a 40% plus revenue share, and they have to build a world-class transfer capability, and I must concentrate on direct and indirect. How do I get benefit to DIAL in terms of making sure it's ultimately viable for them to invest? And the Delhi government should say, and I've said this during our last conversation, if you have to support DIAL, you're supporting a national cause.
Right. Right.
Because hubs create tremendous direct, indirect, and catalytic wealth impact because of direct, indirect, catalytic, and induced impact.
Yeah.
So what do I do to assist them? And we must shun this thing that it's a private sector, so I can't sell them. So I think a mindset change, culture change. And lastly, I would say, we'd also think that how many hubs do you want?
Okay.
Because, Bombay is aspiring to be a hub, Bangalore could aspire to a hub, Hyderabad could aspire to be a hub, Delhi could aspire to be a hub. Then you should say that, listen, I can't be what Dubai is.
Okay.
Because
that is
I am
not
going
a
to
model
spread
we
the
can.
airline network.
Okay.
So I think, yes, possible. We have every ingredient to make sure that DIAL becomes a world-class hub. And the last thing I'll say, it's very important for policymakers, which I said again last year, that how do we bring a level playing field between now the new airport that's coming and the DIAL airport? The tariff challenges between two airports is a separate subject. But in terms of, let's say, the VAT on ATF, which is almost chalk and cheese difference.
Yeah.
So within NCR, we'll be the only country in the world, only state in the world, only aviation market in the world, where 50 kilometers from the current airport, the VAT on tax is almost negligible.
Yeah.
And here I'm paying closer to 30.
Yeah, yeah.
So once we look at it all together, policymakers given attention, I think everything is possible.
Right.
Mr. Jaipuri, I wanted to bring you in to address something that is the top of mind for a lot of us. And this concerns aviation safety. And we have seen a spate of events which has brought this to the limelight. And people talk about long delays in the investigation, no proper action taken on reports that are submitted, etc., etc. So, looking at from DIAL's perspective, how do you see how this issue can be addressed, in a manner which is really satisfactory? And I think, Mr. Kaul, you should also weigh in on this issue.
Okay, I will comment from the airport point of view because I think DGCA is already looking into how to improve the safety standards and safety oversight as far as airlines operations are concerned. We are very conscious of the fact that with increasing traffic, we need to possibly go to the next level of safety awareness. So in fact, we have just in January launched a program where we are using an external agency who is working with all our stakeholders to build a safety culture. Because that is something unless everybody is aware that what is safe act and what is an unsafe act. It doesn't build in because you cannot have only regulations actually ensuring safety. Second thing, in terms of even upgrading the equipments or optimizing the equipments, because if I look at Delhi airport now, we have got close to about 1,500 movements in a day. Now we have X number of equipments which have got multiple types of equipment, so they typically need to move from one stand to another stand. We are planning to go to 2,200 plus movements, so that is about 50% jump. If the overall number of equipment jump by 50%, then I will have no place for aircraft to move around, and that is where the accidents typically happen, where you have got incursions at various levels. So that is something that we are working with stakeholders to optimize. We have come out with some solutions in terms of possibly some of the equipment should be stationed at the stand itself. And we have got a very interesting use case in terms of Hong Kong, because Hong Kong has been able to do that, where basically all the equipments that ground handlers use are owned by the airport, and all the slow moving equipments are positioned at the stand. So there is not much movement of equipments, which basically reduces that much of chance of any type of a accident on the air side. So we have started work on that direction. We have already done a study. And typically what our study says is that by pooling the equipment, that is one set of equipments being used by multiple ground handlers, can reduce my current total equipments by 30%, which is a lot, because that 30%, basically 30% vehicles are off road, then you can understand the improvement. Second thing is that we are also working with our ground handlers in terms of the stronger oversight in terms of their safe behavior. In fact, we already have got some penal provisions and other things, but penal provisions typically don't work. So that is where you need to train them, you need to retrain them, and you need to get them to believe that they are the ones who can actually make a difference. So these are some of the things that we are.
So as we were speaking over coffee, air safety is a national issue now. Frankly, we cannot just brush it under the carpet, move from one accident to the other accident. If we have to grow and grow safely, we have to totally recast air safety system in India. We cannot be saying after every accident that, listen, it's bad, we feel bad for X, we feel bad for Y, we'll do this, we'll do that, and next 2 weeks there is another accident. So if we are serious about the growth in aviation, we'll have to primarily say, bring a white paper, very transparently, must emphasize and reiterate all the fault lines that are existing in the system. Because commercial you can dispute. You can have an argument between on bilaterals, opening, extra. But on air safety, you have to bring a white paper. Where are we right now? How, if we have to do zero risk-based framework, how far are we from as of now? In terms of people, systems, processes, use of technology, surveillance capability, and quality of that surveillance capability. Because one is that you are doing surveillance, but the second is whether that quality of that surveillance is in line with what you want. So I think that needs to be seen as of, are we prepared for the current set of traffic? We're doing 3,200 departures domestic, 650 odd international, and non-scheduled aircraft movement, so a lot. Are we prepared for that right now? Then we have to say, as Mr. Jaipuria said, that he's moving from 1,500 to 2,200 flights a day. We are going to be moving from current traffic to 2x the traffic in 5 to 7 years. then we have to look, what do we need to do to grow to that level? And believe me, I want to reiterate in these days to everybody I meet. Like I met you and I said, rest we can discuss airports, hubs, airlines, etc. You must prioritize air safety regime in this country. It's time where we call for facts on table. We ensure that air safety regime is discussed in a very transparent and open manner. Facts are placed on table, and an action plan for renewal to the level that we require is started with sense of urgency. Let me say this to you also, that even if we decide to do it, everything that we need to do, it takes 3 to 5 years. You cannot get an airworthiness inspector or an air safety inspector produced overnight. It's not a ground handling staff. So it will take a long time, and then we are adding eVTOLs. You will see more corporate aviation into the picture. Helicopter will go through a recast. We've just had a change on fractional ownership. You will see more corporate jets being bought. And we haven't started on the general aviation side as yet. Then there'll be eVTOL, extra. So I can once again say, if we are serious about aviation growth, if we are serious about national integrity as far aviation is concerned, air safety must be placed on everybody's door. Look at what happened the other day. 7 people in an air ambulance. I don't know how they got the money. They take people from one end to save their loved ones, and all the 7 die. If that doesn't wake us up, then I don't know what will wake us up. So again, through this medium, it may not be convenient. We have a great DG currently, very open for change, but it needs not only, as Mr. Jaipuria was saying, culture change, it needs a thorough systemic change. Saying that we cannot now, even for a day, accept such fault lines which are making the aviation regime in India vulnerable. So I think we must start today.
From safety, I want to discuss security. We as a nation seem to be obsessed with security, especially airport security, right? So when we talk about internationalizing the asset in line with how we see global hubs operate, do you think our obsession with security will come in the way? I mean, why can't we just have a system where, I enter the airport with DG Yatra, and till the gate I don't have to show my, passport, something like that. Or somebody coming from somewhere, right? And several frisks and checks. Don't you think these are barriers to the user experience? Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you compare security from one place to another, they are all different. Because our security risk perception is definitely higher than many of the other countries because of very friendly neighborhood that we have.
Right.
So that is where I think in the right manner there are certain security protocols that have been put in place. Is there opportunity to actually make passenger convenience better without compromising on security? Yes. Okay. That is something that we are already working with the Ministry of Civil Aviation as well as Bureau of Civil Aviation Security. Okay. So for example, we have put a proposal that in case you have got a domestic transfer, so like Europe has implemented one-stop security, can we look at that? Because that other airport is also managed by CISF. The person has been actually cleared for security. And if he is coming here, why do you need to do another security?
Yeah, exactly.
Similarly, even in international, can we do that? There are certain nuances that are being worked upon. But yes, this is something that already the security regulators are quite open about discussing. And they are working on that, how do we make it happen?
Is it because airports don't talk to each other, like AAI and the private, like even though it's managed by CISF, okay, like 2 airports don't talk to each other. That's why this disconnect happens and the customer has to sort of face. I'm just asking.
Not really. So there are certain security protocols, and security is something that nobody wants to take even 0.5% chance. So Earlier, there were airports which were managed by local police. CISF was only deployed at certain designated airports.
Right.
So possibly that mindset comes from there. That in cargo, there is already an easing out. I am sure that the same thing will happen even for passengers.
Okay.
Mr. Kapil Kaul, I wanted to draw your attention towards something that the Secretary of Aviation said in the morning, where, you know, he said that the target is something to have something like one airport a month or something like that. You know, we're targeting 400 airports. Yeah, they're very ambitious, and we already have 165 odd airports in place. But it is also true that many of them are thoroughly underutilized. How do you see this issue? In a hurry to execute so many projects, you know, are we really not taking up enough feasibility on these projects, and what's the kind of harm it can do to aviation?
So if you look at China, and this is where I think we need to take a call, that is it a commercial decision or a strategic decision. In China, now at least they have become much more having enough traffic over the last 20, 30 years. But initially the airport buildup was similar to more or less what India is doing. Similar to what India is doing. So as long as you believe that I'm using, let's say, public finances, I'm building infrastructure across the country, India is going to move from, let's say, X traffic to 2X, then 4X, 5X over 20, 30 years. Traffic will come. So then there is no issue. If it is a strategic decision, that listen, India would need to have as many airports as possible, one for security reasons sometimes, and that fact that traffic will come, we are building infrastructure across and traffic will follow. So it's a strategic decision. Nobody can argue with that. If it is a commercial decision, that I will have a airport which is where there is no traffic, and I have a regional commuter business which flies into that airport, which is almost negligible in India. It will be very costly, and government in their own view would have taken a decision that, listen, even if it's costly, even if I have empty airports, even if I have almost no regional commuter airline infrastructure in this country, but it's a strategic decision. You cannot argue on that, and one must accept that it's a government's call. Moment you get into commercial, there's no commercial. So you would have these airports empty till they become getting traffic, and then they become viable. Third thing, it's important for India to know. Again, if we have to develop hubs, regional hubs, gateways, if you spread the traffic like the way we are spreading, which these things will go, small triples here and there, it will ultimately make, let's say, in UP or Lucknow airport will become challenging, or many other airports will become challenging. Because what should come to one airport will be spread around multiple airports. So it's important the call the government takes, strategic decision, keep investing. There's no commercial, that's okay. It's a public finance responsible. One point of time traffic will happen, and that will happen. Because India will grow from current traffic to in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That will happen, there is no question. But right now there is no commercial. In the near term, you won't have any commercial. But strategic, yes, we can keep building airports. What's in national interest? I think that's what the government is doing.
Mr. Jaipuria, tell us something about your strategy on AeroCity development. How does this city within a city, like we've seen international hubs are almost like Singapore, etc. They're like city within a city. How does your AeroCity development plans, etc., dovetail to your ultimate plan of turning into international hub?
I think this is a learning that we have got over the years, as well as we have also seen some of the other airports, whether it is Amsterdam or whether it is Zurich, that airports, especially if they are easily accessible, are becoming business centers. Just to share with you, close to 70% to 80% of the people staying in AeroCity are air travelers.
Right.
And looking at that, even some of the offices, whether this is Airbus, a regional office, or whether this is Embraer office, or there is some other offices, these offices also have moved to that area. So it's much more convenient for people to travel into Delhi, conduct meetings or seminars over there. There is a huge demand even for MICE. And that is something that we see growing. And that is one of the reasons why we have actually, today the occupancy of AeroCity hotels are at all points of time 85 to 90%. And at the highest average daily rate.
And this is season agnostic.
This is season agnostic because this is something mostly used by business travelers or families who just want to spend 2-3 days in Delhi and then move on to other locations. So I see that as a very critical part of the overall hub creation because hub, you will have people. I have had meetings at Amsterdam airport, just moving out of the airport, going to a meeting and then taking another flight and going to another place in Europe.
Right.
So that is something which is going to be the norm if you are becoming a global connector. So that is where it plays the role.
Okay, I think we have reached the end of the discussion. We should have had more time probably, but thank you so much, both the speakers. A big round of applause to Mr. Kapil Kaul and Mr. Jaipuria.